Paymon who?
Mata Heyday.
Paymon Lata Heyday. Who is he?
Never paid taxes in 30 years. Fought the U.S. tax court and won.
See, I believe our rights come from God, not from government. Hello, my friends, to another edition of Freedom Law School's Freedom Hour. In this presentation, I'll be covering the topic of federal student loans. Why you should have your children avoid getting federal student loans. If you've not been to our website, freedomlawschool.org, you want to go there and be free of IRS fear, which leads to what? Deception, which leads to fear, to be slave and robbed by the IRS. So having said that, many people call me and say, Paymon, I don't file and pay income tax, but I want my child to go to get better education, and I'm not rich, so my child needs to get a loan from the bank to go to school guaranteed by the government. But the university wants my tax return for my child to get a loan, to be able to borrow and go get a bachelor's degree or another higher degree from the university. What should I do? The answer is simple. Don't have your students, your son or daughter, go to university. They're worthless. Okay? They all have become, for the most part, worthless. Okay? And so I'm going to cover that topic. Why? Now, if you really want to get that loan, despite what I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, your child can tell the university that my parents are refusing to give me that information. And they will get the loan anyways, because they cannot deny someone a loan just because the child happens to be in bad relationship with his or her parents. Maybe the parents are in jail. Maybe parents are dead. Maybe they're terrible people. Maybe you don't even talk to each other. So they'll give a loan anyways, even though at first they pretend that they need the tax return of the parents. But I want to invite you to discourage your child from getting a student loan, because it's not real education to begin with. It's a system where the banks loan out the money, okay, and the government guarantees the loan. So if the student doesn't pay, the bank is sure to get the money directly from the student over the years, or if you default, the government will pay through your pocket, through your income taxes. The system we want to divorce ourselves from. Why do we make ourselves dependent on this corrupt system? No, we don't have to do that at all. And what happens in the process, universities have gotten corrupt. That's right. It's been over 60 years that the federal government has got into the business of guaranteeing bank loans for young people to go attend university. So as a result, since you're not paying, the government is really paying, okay? They're the ones with the money, they're the ones in control, and they're the ones the students please and answer to, not you, the student. The student is just a tool they use to get that money from the government. So universities have become money-making scam for the university system, the management, and the employees. They get high pay, high vacation, they got 10-year retirement, great pension, because it's become a corrupted, comfortable system for them, not you. And they don't teach you anything useful anyhow, for the most part. I'll talk about that now. Let's check this into it, okay? Time magazine even came out and talked about this issue, okay? That you should be able to live a good life without a college degree and They continue by saying that people with college degrees are often underemployed, taking on jobs that didn't make use of their education. That's right. They're useless. I'm one of them. I got my bachelor's degrees in the 1980s in business administration. I could not get even one good job with that bachelor's degree. It's a piece of paper sitting in a drawer. If a bachelor's degree back in the 1980s was useless, the ones today are worse than useless. They're just a chain around your neck. Thank goodness I did not borrow from the government to pay back that loan. Okay? So here it is. A full decade after receiving their bachelor's degree, 45%, almost half, of bachelor's degree holders are working jobs that don't require a college graduations, grad skills. Why are you getting a job? We know that, a degree wouldn't help you because degrees don't help you get a job to begin with, for the most part, to begin with. Okay? And here's an article from New York Post. Gen Z grads say that college degrees were a waste of time and money. Yep, it is the truth. This came out April 2025. That is the reality out there, okay? For Gen Z grads facing a mountain of student debt and a job market where college degrees are being outpaced by coding boot camps and chatbot know-how, it's a bitter pill to swallow. Well, the truth is the truth, folks. And that's what I'm here to share with you, to empower you with the truth. And here's an article from Business Insider that shows from January of 23, okay, till October of 24, okay, about a year and 3 quarters. The green line is postgraduate degrees. They are out of work longer. People with postgraduate degrees, high school degrees, out of job less. That's right. It's hard to get a job with those degrees. They're not good jobs out there. Okay, except in what? Maybe government jobs, some big corporations who want that degree, and like health and psychology, marriage, family counseling, stuff like that. They require that degree. Other than those very specific career-oriented jobs in the corrupt government, corrupt medical system, corrupt psychology system, all that stuff, it just doesn't do any good to get the piece of paper. All right? Now, here's the article continues. In the past 2 years, some 50 companies, foundations, and other recruiters have joined the U.S.-based campaign to tackle an invisible barrier, the paper ceiling of degrees, which is increasingly viewed as unfairly blocking job opportunities for people who did not go to college. Yes, in those occupations I mentioned, it stops you from becoming a lawyer, or a doctor, or registered nurse, or psychologist. But are those type of things? It's a waste, okay, and they're blocking people. Now, LinkedIn has a very good article about your degrees is now obsolete. That's right. Okay? Why education and degrees may no longer matter in the age of artificial intelligence, or AI. Published just here, May 2025. Very new article. Okay? And here's what it says. As AI continues to automate routine and even complex tasks, the jobs that remain will require a different set of skills: emotional intelligence, creativity, critical thinking, and the ability to work alongside artificial intelligence. These skills are not easily taught through traditional lectures or just via standard text exams. That's multiple choice, right? They are developed through experience, collaboration, and real-world problem solving that they don't teach you in universities. Let's continue. Okay? For centuries, formal education and academic degrees have served as a cornerstone of professional success and social mobility. From law to medicine to engineering and humanities, the diplomas have been seen as passports to opportunity, signaling expertise and capability. Yep, that's the past. However, with the rapid advancements in artificial intelligence, AI, this paradigm is undergoing profound shift as intelligent systems increasingly outperform humans and tasks traditionally associated with expertise. The relevance of formal degrees is being questioned. Yep, it's questioned and becoming more and more irrelevant. Let's continue. In the modern job market, employers are placing increasing emphasis on what candidates can do rather than what diplomas they hold. Absolutely true. At Freedom Law School, I'll look at to see how smart you are. Can you think for yourself? Are you creative? Are you able to read and write and analyze and figure things out for yourself? I'll look at those things. So are most employers. Are you willing to work hard? Do whatever you ask to do? Or you say, I don't like to do this. I don't like to do that. You know? Come on. People in the third world come to America for jobs, begging, anything. And Americans say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Right? So go starve. That's what happens. And these worthless degrees make this situation worse. Here's the student loans in the United States. The amount of loans have gone up quite a bit. The red area you see here, from 2003 at the bottom left, bottom right, 2024. In 21 years, folks. You see the red area? That's student loans. The big yellow is home loans, home mortgage loans. So the biggest area of growth has been student loans guaranteed by government. It's gone up quite a bit more than anything else. And that's a chain around the neck you cannot take off. You cannot bankrupt even bankrupt the student loans. You can bankrupt taxes, but not student loans. How you like that for a chain and ball and chain around your neck? Right? Now, all this goes on because the banks also make money with this thing called fractional reserve banking, okay? There's a scam of the banks that they take advantage of you in this situation and your child, okay? Fractional reserve banking is a system in which only a fraction or portion of bank deposits are required to be available for withdrawal. Yeah. Banks just need to keep only a specified amount of cash on hand and can create loans from the money you deposit. They can keep on books maybe 10%, 20%, and lend out the others. They make literally out of money out of thin air because they're supposed to have your money to give to you at any time. But they don't. So literally making money out of thin air. And when you deposit money in your savings account, your bank can use an amount specified as capital to fund loans and pay you for using your money. Yep. So that's why the banks love this. It's an easy way for them to make more money out of thin air by loans, by fraud, and charge interest on a non-existent money. That's what banks do. It's a scam they love. You're serving the banks, universities, and the government by doing this. In this article also, it talks about liquidity. Liquidity is what? Is banks making money out of thin air, loaning money out of thin air. Banks created a huge amount of funding liquidity between 2011 and 22, amounted to an average of $10.7 trillion per year. That's about 57% of the gross domestic product of the United States. That's huge amounts of making money out of thin air and charging interest on this $10+ trillion. The banks love this thing. It serves them. Okay? The real answer is simple. Real education is not taught in these antiquated universities anymore, who are most more woke. Okay? The answer is self-directed learning. Okay? And you, the parents, also can help. Okay? And be part of that. There's many benefits to self-directed learning. Okay? It's personalized. Students can learn at their own pace, focusing on their interests. And guess what? That's what I did. When I was in the 1980s in the university and I studied business, when I done my morning classes, I went to the library and I learned about politics of Iran, what's going on after the revolution, and the West. So I knew a lot that way. What I was interested in, I'll learn. It related a lot to what I did at Freedom Law School, because I understand how government is corrupt and how you can stand up for freedom, and you should stand up for your freedom. Okay? So your interest makes a big difference. Don't just go for a piece of paper. Okay? So this personalized experience can lead to deeper engagement and more meaningful learning experiences. Freedom Law School is one example of that. Okay? Engagement. When students are interested in what they are learning, they are more engaged and motivated. I just said that to you again in a different way. Initiative. Self-directed learning empowers students to take charge of their education. I read my own books and magazines in their library. As they navigate their learning journeys, they learn to set goals, seek resources, and reflect on their progress. Yep. And skill development. This approach encourages students to think for themselves, which fosters essential life skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, self-regulation. These skills are applicable in a variety of ways in the future endeavors. Like me. When I heard about income tax fraud back in 1992 at age 29, I was able to think from myself, read from myself, analytical thinking, saying, we've been lied to. But most people in university, simply brainwashed. Cannot think for themselves, so they won't. Okay? That's what enabled me to go there. And then I was also thinking, hey, that's a great way to make a living. Tell the truth. Empower people to live free. Some organizations that pay on sell a program. I said, I'm in. I want to sell freedom. I'm an entrepreneur. That mindset was given to me by my self-study. And your child can do the same if you let him do that. Don't send him to university to get brainwashed by a bunch of woke ideology and environmental nonsense. Okay? And now, also, the confidence. Okay? Students take ownership of their learning and they can better identify and gain confidence in their natural abilities and better preparation for real world life. Self-directed learning enables students to engage with the world and experience real life challenges and solutions. Yes, that's how I came up with Freedom Law School. It was a solution that over time got created because I was able to think for myself. So I learned how to read and study what I was interested in. Now, one more thing I want to say, for those of you who have girls, do not send your girls to college. That's the worst thing you can do for your girls. Why? I'll tell you why. Here's the reality, okay? 1 in 3 record share of young women, adults will never marry. That's one article. Another article says the end of children. Yep. Birth rates are crashing around the world. Should we be worried? Yes. We should be worried. That's right. See, I'll give you guys an example of that. What happened, this article shows in Singapore, okay? In Singapore, the birth rate should be 2.1 babies per woman, okay? To replace the population, keep it the same, okay? In 1960, in Singapore, the birth rate was almost 6. By 85, it brought to 1.6, a rate that threatened to roughly halve its population in 2 generations. And what's the number one cause of that? We're having our young girls, instead of getting married like they used to in their late teens and maybe early 20s, they're going to go to college to get so-called educated. No, they get brainwashed, woke into environmental and earth cooling and warming nonsense and become socialists, communists, because that's what universities produce. They become feminists, so anti-man, anti-white, anti-God, all that and anti-marriage. So rather than getting married, they go through a series of sexual partners, aka boyfriends, and they just compare boyfriends to one to another, and they get to be over age 25, age 30. It's a little too late to marriage now, because men prefer younger women. It's just the way we are, right? So now they get a job with that degree. Even worse, they're stuck. Okay, so we're having less children. I met an Indian couple about 7 years ago. The man paid over $500,000 for his daughter to go become a medical doctor. It's expensive. At the same time, she got married, got pregnant. Uh-oh, I gotta make a choice. Take care of the baby or career? She made the right choice. She chose the baby and dumped that career, because men cannot have children. The woman can have children. If the women don't have children, have careers instead, we're gonna die as a people. I got relatives who have no children. You do too. They go extinct. That will happen to humanity. So don't send your girls to university, except maybe to go find a good young man, maybe a few years older, okay, that was going to run through some degree, some work to get married, to find a good husband. Really, because that's what they are. That's what young people are, okay? That generally, I say 5 to 10 years is better for the men to prove themselves before they marry. Women marry younger, but that's another topic. Bottom line is, your girls should be the last ones, okay? Focus on them having children, having lots of children, and prosper, because remember, it's common sense. As well as the Bible says, be fruitful and multiply. When I was a kid, okay, and everybody knew, I knew, you're strong, you're smart, you have lots of kids. You're weak, you don't. I know it kind of feels hurtful to say that, but it's true. Folks, the strong survive, and so-called university education is the worst thing you can do to your daughters. Your sons even could do better. Lots of alternative things are out there. They could educate themselves, okay? So in this world that's changing, so stay away from those student loans. If they go get a scholarship, okay, fine. Maybe then perhaps. But don't get the loan. Don't put the rope around your neck. So many students are right now are trapped, and for decades, the loans will haunt them, and they wish they had not taken those loans, that they were duped into thinking that's the best thing to do. So with that, we're at freedomlawschool.org. Educate yourself that you don't have to be a slave. You don't have to pay income tax. American people in the 50 states don't have to do that. Share it with them, our website. Text them, email them, freedomlawschool.org. And remember, together, we can join hands and have you be free, have America be a free country again. Thank you for being with me. I'll be back with you next Tuesday night.